Welcome to Startup Life Life, the podcast for founders who are still in the middle of it all. Not exited, no viral product yet, just beautifully early, slightly overwhelmed, and full of optimism. I'm Sabrina Mach, your host of the show today, and I will be sitting down with Jan Heimes, the co-founder of Needle, and I am going to meet them in their co-working space here in Berlin, just off Alexanderplatz. And very excitedly, recently they raised 2 million of investment. So now they've got real capital, they are hiring, but now there's also the real pressure of making it work. So I'm sitting down with Jan today, and we're talking about the journey up until this moment. The things that worked, or the things that didn't, the moments they maybe almost gave up, but also what would they tell their younger self, the one a year ago, of what they would do differently or try to avoid, and what are the good things to hang on to. So this is the episode, and let's go. I'm going to meet them now. I'm already late, so I should jump onto the S-Bahn and meet them. So I'll see you there. All right. I've arrived. I'm about to go in. Can't wait. It should be interesting. I can't wait, Jan, to hear all about your journey of your startup. But before we hear about the journey, where are you today? Describe where Needle is today.
Where Needle is today?
Yes.
Wow. In which context? As a company, as a
company, where's the product? Mm-hmm. Do you have paying customers?
Okay. Yeah. We are Needle. We started Needle like around 7 months ago. And in this exact moment, we are just about to increase our team. So we are looking for software engineers as well as the head of growth to accelerate the growth, which we are already seeing right now. We have a working product, paying customers. And before this meeting with you, I just had a call with one customer, which is from Sweden. And I'm every day here in the office, 24/7, hustling and working and making sure that Needle works well for all the people that are using it. Currently, we have more than 1,500 users across paying as well as free users. And we just closed our seed round for 2.2 million seed funding. And excited to make Needle great, make it bigger, and make it greater for all the people that are using it.
So now it's when it starts getting serious. It's the time to prove the idea. But how did you get here? If you think back to day one, how did things start?
Yeah, day one. That's a great point. I mean, I think sometimes it's a bit blurry even what is day one, because there's not that exactly this is the first day we do something, because I met my co-founder, and I think startup is all about the co-founder match, because most of the times startup would fail is because the co-founder match is just not working, that co-founders are breaking up. And so I met Onu in Berlin, and back then I lived in Zurich, Switzerland. And we worked on some other ideas together for some time, but then we decided not to work anymore together, kind of broke up. So, and then later he worked with another team, I worked a bit on myself. And then we came back together, and Ono was basically saying, hey, Jan, I really enjoyed working with you. Let's just see if we can work again together. And I have this idea of creating a RAG API. For whom doesn't know what RAG is, it's retrieval augmented generation, allowing AI basically to tap into your private knowledge base. And so I said, Ono, I really like to work with you, and I enjoy very much your energy, and I see you very much as a co-founder. So let's just start it. And I quit my job in Zurich, Switzerland, and moved to Berlin to start Needle together with Onur.
Exciting.
I don't know, here you see, what is day one? I don't know exactly what day one is. Is day one the first day we met? I doubt, maybe not. But maybe this first day we talked and sit down together and said, let's start it. But yeah, this is kind of the story.
Great. So you moved to Berlin a year ago.
Like 7, 8 months, 9 months ago, yeah.
And then what was the journey like since then? When was like a magic turning point where you knew you had something?
We always think from the first day believed very much into us, and we know that we are going to make it. And I think this is like maybe the magic of it. I don't know if there's exactly this exact magic moment, because it's a marathon, and there's not like today I'm waking up and oh, now this is all solved, all problems are solved, everything is great. It's just every day you are kind of grinding, and it's like a process. It's not one magic moment, I think, actually.
Yeah. So tell me about...
Or maybe the magic moment was, if I come back, where I was sitting with my previous boss or team lead in the meeting. I said, I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to move to Berlin.
That was the
Maybe
magic moment.
that is the magic moment, because this shows determination and belief.
Yes, and I feel your optimism. So when I think about startups, one of the big questions I always have as well is, how did you know you had a good idea? How did you validate it? How do you know you're on the right path? How did you do this leading till now? Plus, like, how do you continue doing that?
RAG was in 2024 quite a big topic, and many people were experimenting with it. LLMs were kind of becoming really like big and utilized with rolling out of 4.0 and so on. And so we realized that many people in our environment are actually building like RAG pipelines or like building some applications with LLMs, but it's yet still a very wild west and early market. And many people actually on Reddit, and Reddit is a great source because we were a developer tool in the beginning, were complaining, for example, about tools such as LangChain or maybe SageMaker from AWS, because yet it was still quite complicated to build such RAG applications. So we were thinking, why is there not such a compact RAG API, which you just call with like a few lines of code, and that is actually going to be the magic sauce? And many people were requesting such thing just online in Reddit. So it was kind of Reddit and consultants we talked to who build such applications for companies. So we heard this pain a lot of times. And also ourselves, we have built RAG pipelines in personal projects as well as like in company projects. And we saw that this is really a big pain. So we were like, there should be an easier solution for that. Yeah. So the thing is that in the times, in the very beginning, for example, of databases, maybe you would like do more like self-hosting, or maybe you would like maintain it yourself. But these days, there's a huge market of, for example, managed databases. And why wouldn't something like this also happen in the space of RAG architecture? And nowadays, it is the case. There's like many managed RAG API solutions. We're also not anymore RAG API solution managed RAG anymore, kind of. We are still having a RAG API and we are selling the RAG API. People are using it. We have customers free as well as paying. But we pivoted a bit to being an end-to-end solution, fully AI platform for enterprises.
Yeah, maybe I can poke at that a little bit. That's really interesting. So you mentioned you started in one way and then pivoted to another way of approaching that. Can you tell us how did you know you need to pivot, and how hard was that?
We knew we needed to pivot and it was not like a crazy pivot neither, because if we sell a RAG API, even the developer, which is selling to a developer, need to get like some UI feeling of it. Because if it's just maybe a CLI tool, command line interface tool, or just like a few lines of code, it's hard to connect with the tool, right? So we always had like a bit of a UI tool around it, so you can kind of like feel the product because it is helping you to sell. But we talked with a lot of developers, and excitement was there to use a RAG API. But developers is a very hard market to crack, I think, and we were not open source. I think that's why many of these developer tools also go open source, because it's kind of a marketing strategy or go-to-market strategy, because you gain the trust from developers. They say, oh, look, I use that. It's open source. It's really cool. But if you're closed source, which we were, some developers are a bit like, I don't know about these guys. And it's hard to sell to developers because they may think, I can just build that myself. I'm the smartest person in the room. I can build that myself. And I know where I come from because I'm a developer by background myself. So it's just how it is. So we knew when we talked on conferences, events, online with people, and we sometimes talked also maybe to COOs or VP of engineering or maybe CMOs. They were like, man, I really would like to have this solution. But if we are just an API solution, you always need developers who build kind of the UI on top of it. And so we were like, seems to be like business people are really interested in the product, but they cannot set up the product. So why don't we like just package our solution, our API, and not just make it for developers? We make it end-to-end solution for companies. And also the market is just more proven. Like there's like more like these kind of co-pilots is a bit more like already a proven market, Like Microsoft Copilot was there, then Gemini and Glean, for example. Glean is our biggest competitor from the US. And so we saw that this is a proven market, while maybe RAG API is not a proven market yet.
Interesting. So it sounds really easy, like you're buzzing through. I feel the excitement. I really wonder what were the things that were hard along the journey.
Yeah, I mean, the journey is still hard. I mean, it's like I haven't figured out everything yet, neither. Journey is hard every day, I think. The thing is, you get so many no's. Like, I thought in the beginning that people are like, oh, you're doing startup? That's cool, man. I'm excited. How can I help? Let me give you the shot. Let's try it. And I thought there would be more support from people I already know. I felt relatively little support, must say, from the people I know. I expected more support, and I was a bit disappointed there. And that's maybe hard because your maybe vision shifts a bit. And additionally, like you hear a lot of times no's, like you maybe talk with different developers and users, and they say, I mean, maybe they say, I don't know, I don't like what you do. It's like, I can build what you do in like 30 minutes. Your solution is like not amazing. It's very boring. Maybe you get some hate on Reddit or something like this. We were even getting hate on Reddit. We were roasted once on Reddit, like in November last year. But also that's great because negative marketing is also marketing in a way. And if we got roasted on Reddit, it was also kind of like making more people aware that we are there and we exist and making us try because people are curious, what is this now, you know? So I think rejection, like a lot of, all the day you get rejection, almost every day maybe you get a rejection, and you have to keep going because you are the one who believes most in it. Nobody else is going to believe more in it than yourself. So you have to be the positive energy that shines to other people and makes them like maybe spark a bit, but the other people will not make you spark. So it's a bit like this. And so always giving energy and always being positive and always being optimistic, even though you get a lot of negative energy coming to you. I think this is maybe the hardest part. Yeah, if that makes sense.
And staying with struggles a little bit longer, because I think that's where people can really relate, is what are some mistakes that you made along the way that you would avoid in future or wish you hadn't done?
I think I did sometimes maybe mistakes of like also communication with other people. And this is something, if you're so busy because you do startup, you have so many things in your head, sometimes maybe you lose a bit of your human spirit, like you lose a bit of empathy. And I think maybe communication here is very good, and making other humans and people feel that you have empathy for them is very important, and don't lose this empathy and kind of social touch. And I think I maybe have lost it sometimes in a few places, and I didn't communicate correctly. And there's a big mistake I made, I think. Maybe not a big, but some mistakes, yeah.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, maybe we were working together with one person, and we decided not to continue working with this person, but maybe how we parted ways was not ideal. Maybe, I mean, it's all good and great, but I learned from it to communicate better, I guess. Even I already tried to communicate well, and I think I'm kind of okay in communication, but always you can improve to make the other person feel kind of respected and good, and that you feel the other person, because parting ways never is like a nice situation, you know?
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Any other things?
Like we had like sometimes I like in the very beginning, so it's not that huge, but last year in September or something, we had maybe like 50, 100 users or something like this. And I remember I was working, we wanted to make like an adjustment in the prod database because we wanted to merge some data from one column to another. And accidentally I have overwritten some wrong column in the production database. So we had to roll back the production database. I mean, we have all the infrastructure set up correctly, but that moment we were a bit stressed, like, oh man, we fucked up a bit the production database, which is like the biggest mistake maybe you can make. But yeah, I think happened to many people already in this world.
Yes, and I think some
we were
companies
able to roll back,
Yeah, some companies say you haven't really arrived until you've broken something.
Oh, yeah, we broke
Production, so
many things. Yeah, broken sometimes, like some things maybe pushing to prod, we always test a lot, and we have huge CI/CD stuff and end-to-end testing and so on. But we also have pushed broken merges, branches maybe to prod. The thing is that what we follow as a guideline in Needle, make it work, make it right, and make it perfect. So we always try to go with a minimal approach, make it work, because sure, I can work on a feature maybe 1 month and then roll it out and it's perfect. But better I just make it work. It doesn't work perfect, or maybe it's slightly broken. And then I have many users using it, and I see they use it like this, or I talk with them and I understand, okay, this works. And people expect it like it works like it does, but it breaks here and there. It's not perfect. Maybe it's not optimized for cost. Maybe it's not optimized in that exact moment for speed.
Yeah.
But it's working good enough for people to use it. Maybe that's also something.
Yeah. Move fast, learn, and then iterate.
Build, break, right? Yeah.
Amazing. So I can feel the energy of moving forward. If we stay with the reflection of like things that were hard and went wrong, what is advice that you would love to give your like younger self from like a year ago?
I think my younger self from a year ago is like, it's going to be harder than you think. It sounds like, oh, I start a startup and oh, it sounds so fun, and we will drink coffee in the office and have a nice time. But most of the times it's actually a pretty lonely journey, I would say. You may speak on a conference and people may applaud and say great pitch or something like this, as I just pitched yesterday in a conference. But most of the times you are then actually pretty exhausted and lonely also a bit. You're grinding all the time, right? And I would give myself an advice like, don't lose yourself. Try to stay true to yourself. I feel like, because I think at a certain point, maybe a few months ago, I lost myself a bit. Now I'm okay. And I would also say, I saw it as maybe a little bit similar to what I said before, that I can give more responsibility to maybe another party, and this person can carry a bit for me. But no, it's in the end, 90% why Needle may work or work not is because Onur and I are hustling 24/7, and we really want to make this work, and we believe in it. And if we don't believe it, it will never work. Yeah. We have to, as I said, push hard and bring the spark. So I would also say to myself, and I think this is something many startup founders do wrong, go out of stealth mode. If you know what stealth mode is, it's like this LinkedIn kind of mode you can put so that investors see you're about to found a company, but not yet. And I think some founders stay like for a year in stealth mode. But you should get out there as fast as you can. And we were like 2 or 3 months in stealth mode. I think it's okay, but maybe we should have gone even faster out of stealth mode, because you just want to go out there and directly have like, people, here's my product, try it, use it, break it. And some people stay in stealth mode for too long. I think
What's the benefit of stealth mode?
Stealth mode is just like that investors reach out to you on LinkedIn because they see, oh, I see you're in stealth mode, AI, maybe you want to chat and tell me what you're working on right now. It's like a bit like, it's like, I think investors, they have a database and they have the LinkedIn database, and they probably have some criteria, 4 or 5 years of experience in engineering, XYZ, and stealth mode, and based in maybe Berlin. And then they have this database and they reach out to you on LinkedIn and say, I would like to hear what you have to say and what you're working on, and maybe they would like to invest. So this is the only benefit, I think, of stealth mode, that investors, you basically turn on a light and investors are coming to you and want to talk to you. Yeah, but it's not really bringing so much for customer feedback.
Yeah, it prevents you from getting that.
Yeah, you need to get out there as fast as you can, I think. Yeah, and we went out very fast, 2-3 months, but I think maybe we could have even gone faster.
So stay true to yourself. Get out of stealth mode as fast as possible.
As fast as possible.
How do you stay true to yourself? What are some techniques that help you do that? So if people are listening, how can they apply that when they're doing their own startup?
Yeah, I think like sports. Sometimes the day before, we had a hot day at Needle. It was like a bit like we had a bit like many alerts. We had crazy much users on our platform, and huge load on our database, and there was like a lot of difficulties, like customer support, and I was a bit exhausted at the end of the day, and also almost a bit like not angry, but it didn't work as I wanted.
Yeah.
So I went to work out very hard and push crazy hard and get the energy out there. Because if you sit also the whole day long in the chair, just working from laptop, it's not so, you have too much energy. So sports and friends. I think friends are very important to support you in these use cases. I hosted yesterday, for example, a small get together in my place with some friends, and I love to stay honest to myself and build like a small community, and people just share love with each other. So that's, I think, for sports and friends. Yeah.
Also friends.
It's
so amazing. So stay true to yourself, get out of stealth mode. What other tips would you give yourself?
I mean, try to, I think people sometimes overthink. It's like, oh, should I do it like this or should I do it like this? They try to perfectionize too early. I think you should just like try hard. And I think another thing I think is like, look, let's say maybe the reg API didn't work perfectly well out. I could have also said at this moment, okay, let's stop. That's it. Like, didn't work. Okay. But, I think Notion, for example, the first 3 years, Notion didn't make any revenue. Don't credit me on this exactly, but I think Notion had a long time until they actually were validating their product in a way, or reached product market fit. And nowadays, Notion is huge. And it's because they continued to believe in it. They continued grinding. They continued pushing. And I think that's something which is one of the key metrics of success. I see it a bit like, if you see it from a mathematical perspective, consistency over time consistency stays. And then you integrate it and integrate it again. And then it becomes success, and success becomes exponential if you stay consistent over a long time.
And consistent in what way? Consistent with what?
You keep going. You don't say, I give up. You say like, I will adjust to the customer feedback. I will adjust to whatever is there. I see the error. I will fix it. I will make it. You have just to be consistent and keep putting in the work.
Yeah.
You just put in the work. You keep putting in the hours. And, it's a bit like, this meme of this kind of, it was in the Olympic Games. I think this Turkish person who shot like just with one pistol, and then there was, I think, a South Korean person or something who shot like with a really like great setup. And we are just trying to follow this kind of Turkish guy. We shoot and we shoot and we shoot and we shoot. And maybe here I hit, but I don't try to over aim, over complicate, over perfectionize. We shoot. And at a certain point we make a hit. And this is how it works right now also.
Interesting. Combined with as quick feedback from customers. That's something that stands out.
Quick feedback, yeah, exactly. I shoot here, I ask, is this okay? And then he says, yeah, that's nice. Or maybe I ask him, what features do you need? Or they say, we tried this in the year 2, like this and this. It works like this and this, but doesn't work like this and this. But this is a really important use case for me that I should work like this.
Yeah.
And then I like, okay, if you have commitment, like, are you really interested in buying like 50 licenses? Yeah, if you have that feature, yes, I would be. Okay, then let's do a small POC, paid. Like, for example, you pay maybe $100 per month, $200 per month, but at least there is some commitment and you are already registered in their paying customers database. That's very important. Like, mentally, you're already there as one of their suppliers. They have you in their database. They already have you registered. They are paying to you, even though it's not so huge. Then moving this up to the next scale is much better. But you have already validated that they are willing to pay for your solution in a way.
That's a really good way of getting into people's minds. Yeah. Do you have any other amazing tips like this?
Other amazing tips? Probably I have. I just don't come there right now to my mind. But
I remember you mentioned one thing that resonated with me in the conversation we had before, which was around find the customers you love.
Yeah. Love your customer.
Love your customer.
Love your customer, yeah. Okay.
So, welcome back, everyone. We are now changed. I have no idea. We're now somewhere else because we wanted to show you the amazing WeWorkspace. Plus, the camera cut out at some point. So we thought, let's do this again in the startup mode. When something goes wrong, you iterate, you do it again, and here we are. And we're going to record the last 8 minutes just for you in a different place with more color in the background. So Jan, tell me about this concept of love your customer.
Yeah, we talked about this a bit, and The thing is that we started another step in a different area, which was the EPOS system, so electric point of sale. And what that means is where you basically pay. Normally there's some system. There are many companies such as SumUp right now is a big player, which became also very big. And in this case, your customer is like a restaurant owner or maybe cafe owner or maybe a small shop owner. And most of these people are not so tech savvy, as well as they are not so open for innovation, you could say. So a lot of times these people actually just are not really positive towards you. And so these people are not the ones I really love as a customer. And so we were working on that for some time. It didn't work out. That's why we also work now on Needle, which works much better. And the thing is that if I would have continued that startup, I think I would have burned out at a certain point, because I cannot just wake up every day and hustle like crazy. If I don't love my customer, or actually the user that we are serving. So nowadays with Needle, I really like the people we are working with, because they are very open towards innovation. They are tech savvy. They are normally positive towards change also. And I had one user, which is a professor from the United States, and I was on a call with him, and he said, the first time I used the tool, I was awake until 3 a.m. because I loved it so much. In that case, I like, this is better to hear than maybe that he signs up for a yearly subscription of Needle, because these words, they are maybe you don't even can put money to these words, because they are giving you energy, they are giving you life, and they are not the ones that make you keep going, keep pushing, because these are the words you want to hear from people, that you really build something which means something to people and helps them and excites them as much as you are excited about this. So this is a very huge lesson. I think if you don't love your customer, I think you're going to burn out in the long term.
So what really resonated with me about love your customer, what you shared, is the part around really being focused on customer feedback, because building a startup is really hard. There are the long nights and weekends, and where you get the hard feedback where people say, what the hell, we don't want that. Mm-hmm. So in combination with love your customer, finding the customers that you're passionate about and the ones that are passionate about your product, they're the ones that keep you going in those hard times. And I think that's a really great insight for anyone listening, because sometimes people don't go out and speak to customers because they're scared of the feedback. Mm-hmm. And you're kind of using this as your engine. It's yes, it's going to be hard. People are going to say no, but you're also going to have that.
Yeah, most people will say no. Some people will say yes, but I mean, you see it anyway in the world these days already. Most people are kind of negative, but a few are positive, and these few you must find, and they will be the ones who are fueling you. And then maybe you have to blend out the noise. Some feedback, you don't take into account also every feedback. If I would take into account every feedback of every person and value every opinion, then probably I would never build something, because everybody has some different opinions. So you also have the strong opinion yourself. Sure, take into account valid customer feedback, but there's also a lot of noise, and you have to understand how to cut it out and which one to focus on, which one not.
Yeah, how do you know which feedback to take and which one to say, never mind?
It depends on if it's the ICP, let's say the user is really, let's say in our
ICP
case,
is for you?
Initial customer profile. In this case, if the initial customer profile is a consultant or a professor or smaller scale up, and they give some feedback and they really are interested in using your tool, then this feedback is very relevant. But if it's just a random person which just tries out some tools and is your tool kind of sucks because the person also uses the tool in a way which is actually not constructed for, then this is not really valid feedback that I would take into account.
Yeah.
Doesn't bring me any benefit.
That's cool. Tough call to make, but
tough call to make, but
nice.
I guess okay.
So with all that passion of loving customers and balancing which feedback to take, you've been quite on a journey already, just 1 year, and you've already raised $2 million of investment.
Yeah, $2.2 million.
That's pretty amazing. Tell us about that journey, because that's also something that's often really hard for founders, and they struggle, and it's a long journey. For you, it seemed to be really fast. How did you do it? What was it like?
I don't know if it's incredibly fast, to be honest, but I think it is okay. But yeah, I think what people want to see is that you're passionate and you're pushing and you can grind and you have like some expertise in the field. So yeah, a great founder team, I think, because Unwar is a really strong technical person, a Swiss Knife Army software engineer. And I'm like also from a technical background, but I was a YouTuber. I had like more than 1,000,000 views, like 20,000 subscribers, kind of recognized on the street. So I have a bit of like a very extroverted mindset and a bit like marketing mindset, I think. So I'm like a techie with a cut of marketing and sales. So I think this is like a very nice combination of the two of us working together. And I think most of the founding teams break up, and that's one of the main reasons why startups break. And we love each other very much, and we work each other. We have also hard times. It's not every day. It's like we say each other every day, "Hey man, I love you." Sometimes maybe we also say, "Oh, by the way, you fucked this up big time." And I think this is also very important that you have this direct communication. Just before this meeting, we had a call. We were like having our retro. So in this retro, we speak very open and direct what we liked and what we didn't like of the other person. And I think this is like something which investors look into, like that the founding team is just like a great match, that they are have domain specific knowledge, which we have. We built a technical product and we both have technical background, and that you have passion and drive, because this is the marathon. It will for sure go at least 5 years, if not longer, depending if you want to do an exit or an IPO. And so also like creating some FOMO, fear of missing out. So if you are like, let's say you're an investor, you see, oh, OpenAI raised 40 billion, right? This market is hot. It must be hot, because if they think it's hot, then maybe I should think it's hot too. Like it's a bit of FOMO also that you have to create, because it's like in startup investment, there's a great article that I once read, and it said either you're hot or you're cold. Mm-hmm. And if you're cold, then it's very hard. You reach out, rejection, rejection, rejection. And once you're hot, then you reach out and people reach out to you. You get like calls booked many, and it's like because they talk between each other, you know. It's like a very much a bubble, I think. Like if I'm an investor, you're an investor, but we work for different investment companies. But I like talk with this company, maybe here we work or Needle. Maybe I say, oh, nice company, but doesn't fit exactly in our portfolio, but I will pass it to you because I found it interesting enough. And then you will talk with Needle too. And then maybe you will talk to this person and say, maybe you talk with Needle, maybe you talk with Needle. They also talk between each other, you know? It's like word of mouth a bit. So once you are in this bubble and you became like word of mouth hot, then yeah,
so
it's much
easier. You managed
easier.
to do that. And did you have to speak to many investment firms, or spoke to one and you signed? How was that journey?
We spoke to a few, but not to too many. I've heard others speak like to 500 or 200 or something, right? Wow. I think, who was that? Was that like Notion or something? Or Canva. Mm-hmm. I think it's a female founder also. And she, I think, spoke to many, many investors until they invested. And Canva nowadays is very big, right? So we didn't speak to so many. I think here, fortunately, or maybe fortunately, I don't know, in the world, it's a lot about networking and about like also human connection. Because in the end, it's also, sure, it's an investment decision, but also look, the stock market is not totally logic. It's also emotional. And so is also investment, I think, into some startups. And I think if you're good in connecting and you have a great network, then your chances of being more successful in maybe raising or becoming a successful startup is also better. I wouldn't value this networking part, because in the end, it's still about building product and making people use your product and sell the product. But it's definitely an enabler, because you need to start somewhere, and a strong network and a strong, like, for example, business angel can help you a lot. Yeah, like you need to, like, business angels are somewhat seen in startups as cheerleaders. So they cheer for you, and maybe they make connections, because these business angels maybe are not big players, but they have connections to big players, so they can be used as a introductor to many different places.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So when did you start thinking about getting investment? From day one?
We were always thinking that we want to be a venture capital case, so want to raise a round. I mean, many times these days also people do bootstrapping. But if you do bootstrapping, you are going for a niche product, creating a great product in this specific one small niche, and then going into that, because we are a horizontal tool, right? So we are competing globally. And there's other players in the market who raise a lot of money. More money doesn't mean necessarily more success, but they definitely, like, I saw that this market is definitely very competitive and is growing like crazy. And so we needed to raise a round to keep it up with the pace of also the market itself, because it is a crazy fast-paced market. So it is definitely a venture case, what we are building. No way it is not, but so we knew that we need to raise. And then back then I remember one of our competitors actually had a product which was worse than our product. Mm-hmm. And then they raised like a 5.5 million round. Yeah. And hence we were like, the product is even in that stage when they raised a round worse than our product, but they raised a round. So you could see this as validation a bit of the market also, that if like some of your competitors which are building in a similar space, raising a round, not necessarily, as I said, more money means more success, but it's kind of validated again by other investors that this market must be having some potential. Yeah.
Really good. So that's part of the validation part. It's like talk to your customers, but also seeing other products in that space getting traction, getting investment. That also adds to your case.
If I build, like, say, a product which is like a shower for dogs in space, maybe I'm the only player in the whole market. But then it means also somehow maybe there is no market for selling this product. So it's not necessarily bad if there are competitors in the market, because it means market is kind of validated because there seems to be demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. And now we have to run, right? I have one more question, which is what's next for Needle?
Next for Needle, to do more wonderful podcasts with you.
I mean, yes, let's do more. And then?
Needle, I mean, our goal is like to grow Needle, reach 1 million ARR. By the end of this year, build a great team and culture within the company, and have fun working towards a big goal. And our long-term goal is like to do an exit, which is like build a unicorn. Yeah.
Ambitious, being ambitious and having fun. I think that sounds like a great combination.
Yeah.
So then I'll say to you, I hope that while you're on your journey of building your own startup, dreaming up that new idea at 2:00 in the morning and wondering how to make that a success, I hope that Jan gave you lots of inspiration of how to do it. Move fast, have passion, have fun, and think big.
Think big, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.
See you. Have a good one.
So here we really saw a story of getting real. Not just having that idea at 2 a.m. in the morning and then building that without looking at the world outside, but really taking that feedback in and making that into something that survives the light of day. And I think that's something that we've seen from Jan's journey so far. Is the journey over? No, there will be many bumps in the road, but it shows us a really good way of taking that 2 a.m. idea and turning it into something tangible that people can use today. So if you're early on in your startup journey and wondering, how can I make that 2 a.m. idea happen? Or you've just hit the, oh no, I've actually got to build this moment and make it work. This podcast is for you. I will be speaking to more founders over the next few episodes, finding tips, the hard lessons, and the things to avoid, guardrails that can help you on the right path. But also the real story. Like, you are not alone. It is a hard journey. So tune in next time when I'm talking to founders in real time, in real life, in their context, in their journey. But for now, I'm Sabrina Mach, and I'll see you next time in our next episode. Oh, and if you love this, you should totally share this with someone. That's great. I get the balloons. It was so intentional. Let's do this again. Come on. Yes. So we need to build up the energy, because you were like super energized when we were talking last time.
Just say one thing.
Yes.
One very important thing, the light. Did you see that before?
No.
I think, by the way, just I'm not wanting to sound bad, but look at my shirt. It is flickering. Now it stopped flickering. I just want to say that it was flickering, but okay, just keep going.
Shall we just have people suffer or switch the light off?
Yeah, it's quite dark actually.
It's really dark. Are we actually?
Yeah, we are recording actually.
Oh, that's
So the outtakes, you know.
the words. Yeah, that's good. Do what you love.
So cringe.
Propaganda.
I like energy.
Yeah, me too.